I'd like to call the meeting to order, the City of Oak Harbor Planning Commission regular meeting, March 23, 2021. Due to COVID-19, there will be no physical meeting per Washington Proclamation 20-28. Meeting may be viewed live via YouTube. To listen to the live meeting, please call 623-404-9000, meeting ID 149-887-6560. To leave a public comment that will be made part of the meeting record, please call and leave a message at 360-279-4512. The first item on the agenda this evening is the roll call, and let the record show that the only commissioner missing this evening is Eric Marshall. Item 2, approval of the minutes of the February 23, 2021 regular meeting. Do I have a motion? Bruce? And do I have a second? Zach is the second.
Yeah.
Asking for the question, all in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item number 3, this is the public comment part of our meeting. And the city did receive a public comment for this planning commission meeting. And as it does not relate to any of the agenda items, it will be shared now during the general public comment section. The comment via email will be displayed on the screen for the public to read. Okay, we'll just continue on then. Okay, that concludes that part of the public comment. Item number 4, public meetings and hearings. And the first item is the Shoreline Master Program, and it's a public hearing. And at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing and allow public comment for virtual meetings, which can be taken in a number of ways, which are published on the city's calendar associated with this meeting. A voicemail to be played live during the meeting can be left on the line of the administrative assistant, or an email can be sent to the administrative assistant or senior planner to be displayed on the screen, as was just done for the generic public comment. The city has not received any comments for this public hearing. I'll leave it open and call on Senior Planner Dennis Lefebvre.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission, and any listeners that might be available. I do have a PowerPoint I would like to share for my presentation this evening. So I will pull that up. And can you all see this okay? I would assume that's a yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing for the Shoreline Master Program periodic review, and what I'd like to do is just give you folks a brief overview of how we got here and what this is entailing for this evening.
Dennis?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. All we see is a list of files.
Am I not coming through okay?
There's no PowerPoint.
There's no PowerPoint at this point.
There is no PowerPoint?
No, we're seeing your file. There we go. Oh, no.
Other file folder. Let's see. This guy here.
Yeah, just close that window out.
There. Does that work? Is this visible, folks?
No.
No, Dennis.
Dennis, you're not currently screen sharing, so you need to
Okay.
screen share again and switch the monitor.
Okay. So go down to share window.
Where's my screen here?
You can close that out. The bottom.
I can't get my mouse over there. Okay.
Where is your? No, you got the presentation open. That's cool.
Yeah.
This one. Yeah. That one.
This one?
Yeah.
That opens my window though.
Let's go to share.
On here?
Yeah.
What?
Okay. Share.
There.
Now.
This guy. How does this one work?
Yeah, there we go. You're good now.
Is that a little better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry for the confusion. Let's see if I can pull back here. Okay, do we all have process background?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I think we're good to go here. So again, I apologize for the technical glitch. But anyways, to give you a brief background on what this process is entailed, it is a periodic review of the Shoreline Master Program, which is required by our Washington Administrative Code. We actually initiated this effort, as you well know, a fairly long time ago, a couple years. Back in February 2019, I made an initial presentation to the Planning Commission. And believe it or not, this is the 11th time that we've talked about the Shoreline Master Program with you folks. This is kind of the final lap for this periodic review. It's to be completed by the end of June of this year. As I have mentioned in the past, there are a few required review elements which we've incorporated into this periodic review, including any amendments that have occurred to the Shoreline Management Act, as well as any amendments that the Department of Ecology have made to their rules. And basically, we look back to the last adoption date of our existing Shoreline Master Program, which was about 2012. The other element that's required is we need to ensure that we have consistency with our new Shoreline Master Program with any local or regional comprehensive plans which were approved since our 2012, as well as any development regulations that we've updated. We also needed to incorporate any changed circumstances, new or improved information. We also took the opportunity for this periodic review to make several changes to errors and false references that were in the old document. So we cleaned up that document pretty substantially. This is a joint hearing with the Department of Ecology, so I'd like to run through some of their review criteria for Shoreline Master Programs. Department of Ecology does administer the Shoreline Management Act. They are the state approving agency for all Shoreline Master Programs in the state. Their review criteria includes that the Shoreline Master Programs will not foster uncoordinated and piecemeal development of the state's shoreline. To ensure that the master program is consistent with all applicable policies and standards of the Shoreline Management Act, and also that it satisfies the master program guidelines regarding analytical requirements and substantive standards, including that the amendment will not result in a net loss of shoreline ecological functions. That's where we have discussed in the past the no net loss issue of the shoreline developments. This is a joint city Department of Ecology public hearing. We were given the option to engage in this joint hearing under WAC 173-26-104, and we brought this to council back in August of 2019, and the authorized staff to engage in this process jointly with Department of Ecology. We saw it as serving to expedite the SMP process since the previous Shoreline Master Program took about 2 years to get through the local and the state approval process. In coordinating with the Department of Ecology, we are required to do a 30-day public comment window. That window has been open since March 1st and will close on March 31st. And we were also required to do a joint public hearing, which is this Planning Commission's public hearing this evening. The public hearing is an opportunity to receive the public comment on the proposed amendments. Staff will not respond to the comments or questions provided this evening, but we will consider all comments and prepare a written response to those comments as part of our submittal to the Department of Ecology, which will occur early next month. Briefly, the amendment scope, we looked at obviously the entire document, made several changes to Chapter 6, which is the administration portion of the document. We looked at our shoreline substantial development permit review process. We added some exceptions which were added via the Department of Ecology rules. We did some tweaking to our non-conforming structures and uses, as well as other Shoreline Management Act amendments. Department of Ecology wasn't the only state agency that had some changes that affected our master program. We also looked at some requirements that changed under the Department of Fish and Wildlife, as well as the Department of Natural Resources and other state agencies, but those two primarily had some changes that affected our periodic review as well. We also looked at all of our recently adopted local regulations, and as you are well aware, we adopted a fairly sizable package to deal with our low impact development. We also adopted an ordinance which revised our flood damage prevention code, as well as the extensive work that we did on our critical areas ordinance. All of those were brought into our Shoreline Master Program periodic review and made sure that we were consistent with those ordinances. We did a pretty extensive review of Chapter 7, which is our definitions chapter. We updated several definitions, changed some definitions to be more consistent with some of the guiding documents that were more consistent with the Shoreline Management Act. And as I mentioned, we took this opportunity to make a lot of minor references and typographical errors and corrected those in this process as well. So the next steps for this, we are in the process of the 14-day comment window for our determination of non-significance for the SEPA checklist. As I mentioned, our public comment period will close March 31st, but as I'll mention in just a minute, that won't be the last opportunity for the public or the Planning Commission to make comments on this document. I'd like to note that all the proposed amendments, the supplementary documents that we prepared, all the notices, the environmental checklists, and our contact information are all on the city's website, and that is oakharbor.org. And the best way to access this is just in the middle of that page, do a search and do Shoreline Master Program Periodic Review, and all of these documents will be available to you. The comment responses in the document package will be transmitted to the Department of Ecology for their determination of consistency. That process will probably run the entire month of April. We may or may not receive some recommendations on additional changes to our document. Those we will package up and then bring back to the Planning Commission for another public hearing. Although this time we would be seeking your recommendation as we have under normal circumstances. And we envision that public hearing to occur May 25th of this year. So that's the meeting after your next one. And then once we get that package and your recommendation, we would assume that we would be able to carry that forward to City Council for their adoption at their meeting in June. So with that, I will conclude my presentation. My contact number and all my information is available there. Our regional shoreline planner is Raylan Santiago. She is available for comments. And in fact, I'd like to ask if she has any additional comments she would like to add as part of this public hearing. So Raylan, if you're available and would like to make a comment.
Sure. I don't have anything else to add at this time, but I could potentially be available for procedural questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you. That concludes staff presentation, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Commissioners, do we have any comments, questions for Dennis? Tony, no? Okay, if not, then I will at this time close this part of this public hearing. The next item this evening is a draft housing action plan, and this is a public meeting, also brought to us by Dennis, I believe.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. This time I don't have a PowerPoint to cross me up, so. You should have received the whole housing action plan as a draft, as an attachment to your staff report. However, I don't think that made it. It is available, however, on our webpage. Again, the entire housing action plan has a dedicated website for all of the information that has been prepared. As you notice, we do have, we've been trying to keep you updated all through this process on the various steps that the consultants and staff have engaged in preparing this housing action plan. We've had community engagement. We've had the Stakeholders Advisory Committee had 3 meetings. We incorporated the Housing Task Force, which was assembled a few years ago. We looked at their list of recommendations and strategies to improve the housing system in the city of Oak Harbor. We also did, well, the consultants actually did a pretty extensive housing needs assessment, which was provided to you a couple of meetings ago. And as an outgrowth of all of those different sources, they've actually provided an action plan which identifies some strategies and recommendations that we as a city can engage in to improve certain areas or deficiencies that we and the information and inventory that we put together can address. There's quite a menu of options, as you may notice in the Housing Action Plan, that over time we can certainly take a look at. I think one of the next steps is, once this document is approved, we will be looking at all of the strategies, and as staff probably come up with a list of strategies we think we can perform with the resources that we have available, and then we'll also discuss that with yourselves and the city council to make sure that those are the strategies that at least initially would best benefit the housing market in the city of Oak Harbor. That's all I have for my presentation. I know you just received this document. We will have another presentation at your April meeting. We will have the consultant present. It is my intent to have the consultant present at that meeting to help answer any questions that you may have on this document. There's a lot of information in this, let alone the housing needs assessment. There's a whole bunch of strategies and recommendations that we can look at to help fill some of the needs that our housing system has experienced. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have this evening.
Hey, Dennis, I appreciate your work on this. As for the housing needs analysis or assessment, I know that when that group came in, they did their housing needs assessment and didn't seem to immediately think that we needed any more houses. However, I think you all went back to them and kind of pinpointed local restrictions and why, no, you can't build 7 more houses on church property because chances are they're not going to sell it, that sort of thing. Can you tell me where we are with that and if it made a difference? And maybe that's a question for the director, I'm not sure.
I can take a first stab at it, and Dave, jump in, or CAC for that matter, if you want to issue some comments. But yes, we did look at the housing needs assessment first draft, had a land capacity analysis. And under the scenario and the mapping that they performed in their offices didn't reflect actually a lot of situations that we had on the ground. And you referenced the church properties. There were parks that were identified as developable land. There were a lot of errors that needed to be corrected. We sent the pile of revisions back to them, which they used to reassess the land capacity. And the housing needs assessment is an appendix of the Housing Action Plan, and it has been revised to reflect that, in a sense, we don't have the capacity to house the number of folks that we need to house in a 20-year time period. So they did reassess based on the information received back from staff. So
Great work, good.
CAC, Dave, any other additional comments?
No, I think Dennis captured my thoughts there. We had the consultants take a look at it because they had some criteria in their evaluation, I think, as you pointed out, land, and they just took the land value and structure value and kind of did an assessment with that, and that doesn't reflect necessarily what's on the ground. And so they took a look at that and came back with different assessments. So it's in the housing analysis at the very end of the appendix. So it has we're still working on the document. I think it has some conflicting language in there from the previous section, but they have identified that there is a need for additional land to accommodate the housing.
If I may add too, thank you, CAC. Staff is still in the process of review of the housing action plan. So it's a work in progress from staff's perspective as well, so.
One
Right,
comment on
and
the,
we've seen these assessments before, and it was always a little bit frustrating because it didn't match reality. You know, they're going, you got plenty of room for more houses, and we're sitting here going, then why do we not have any houses? So anyway, like I said, great work, and the methodology is the important thing here. It has to be based on reality, not just generalities. So thank you guys for working on that. That's excellent.
You're welcome. Thank you.
David, you,
one
something to-
comment for the planning commissioners. As you read the housing study, you'll find it's actually pretty easy to read, so it won't take you that long. And as you read through it, you'll find there's a lot of really good recommendations in there from this consultant of various steps we can take to develop some affordable housing. So there's a lot of unique things in there that I think you'll find very interesting, things you might want to get involved in that can financially help bring some affordable housing here. So just want to give you those highlights and things to look for when you look through the study.
Thank you, David. Any further comment, questions?
Real quick, Greg,
Yes, go ahead.
on that. I'm hearing from people. I have a friend who just sold a house like last week. He's telling me that like we're having people from out of state come up here, and they're just dropping cash, and they're overbidding what they're asking for, and they're actually overbidding the people looking for an affordable house. They can't deny the person that's bidding the highest number unless they want to take it to a legal course and have to sit there and explain why they selected this person over person B who paid more or was willing to pay more. I hope that makes sense, because it kind of threw me for a loop how someone can move up here and drop $450,000 on a house that was originally going on the market for $390,000.
Any other comments about that or anything else? Okay, the last item on our agenda this evening is our monthly department update, and that's going to be brought to us by Developmental Services Director David Kuhl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, just want to give you a quick update of what the council has done recently. They've approved Resolution 2110, which is the 2021 Comprehensive Plan docket. CAC worked on that, and you have seen that as well. They've also approved the adoption of ordinance number 1920, which is repealing and replacing Oak Harbor Municipal Code Chapter 21-100, which is in the subdivision code section. That's for model homes. So you saw that recently as well, so those have both moved on. Under current planning, we have the final plat for Howard's Point. The Mylar just came into the office today, and so we'll get signatures on that. There are 4 model homes that have currently been approved, and we have 15 more houses that have been plan checked and they're ready. So once this final plat gets signed and gets recorded, they'll be able to start pulling building permits for those other 15. The Hillside PRD civil plan, the civil review that engineering is looking at now is continuing, and so we expect something to be moving forward in the next couple of months. The model home code will apply to that, so once they have the civil plans done and approved, they can start construction, doing their roads and infrastructure as well as their model homes. There's a site out there on Highway 20 that U-Haul has been proposing, and that site review continues. And the Rotary Bridge has been approved in the park, so that's taken us a little while to get through, but a real team effort amongst all the various departments in the city. And that's a real win for the community to have the Rotary step up and help us with that bridge. So that'll be an exciting bridge to go take a look at. One other thing in current planning that I'd like to mention for all of you to take a look at is if you go to the website and look at the city council portion of the website, tomorrow they have a workshop. And as part of that workshop, there's a packet, and if you just click on that, at the very end of the packet, you'll find the city administrator's report. And in the past, you've asked for more updates on what's happening in the city. So not only is there more information about the Community Development Department, Development Services, but there's a lot of really interesting things that are going on in the city. And so that's a real nice report you want to take a look at. Long-range planning, the housing plan, you just went through that, and the Shoreline Master Program, and then the horizontal mixed use. Ray Lindbergh will be back with that fairly soon. So he's been working on that code amendment. Administrative, we've been looking to do the hiring of a new building official, and so we're moving forward on that. We hope to have an announcement hopefully next week on the newest candidate for building official. We've gone out with a request for proposal, an RFP that's called, for a new permitting system. The new permit system, we've been working on the development of the RFP for several months, and we'll be out, I think the April 26th is a deadline to hear from firms who respond to our request for proposal to develop our new permitting system. Council funded that last year, and so we're moving forward on that. The new permitting system will bring about some efficiencies and better coordination between departments. So we're really anticipating developing that. We anticipate about 5 months of development, going through the stages of transferring from the old system to the new system and developing a workflow for our new permit system. So we anticipate that would be in the fall sometime when that goes live. Also, one last topic I'd like to cover with all of you, and that's the need for a couple of volunteers from the Planning Commission. One of the things that we've been working on is trying to coordinate jointly with the county on the joint planning area and the urban growth area. So what we're planning on doing is getting planning commissioners together, a couple from the county and a couple from the city, and start having joint meetings to talk about issues that concern both agencies. One of those big issues is the joint planning area and the urban growth area. So we'll start having conversations about that soon, but we need a couple volunteers. So Mr. Bates was instrumental in helping get this conversation started. Not sure if he has time, given his new obligations outside the Planning Commission, but I want to leave it open to you to talk about that tonight and just participate and see how you'd like to participate. So, Mr. Chairman, I will turn that over to you to see if you'd like to facilitate that conversation amongst planning commissioners.
Tony, are you willing to take that on?
I am. I will find a way by hook or crook to be at the meetings.
That's perfect. Do I have anyone else that at this time that would like to join Tony?
I'm willing, Mr. Chairman, to be involved in that program as well.
Bruce, so Bruce, you're on there? Anyone else feel
If you
like
need a
they've been
third
slighted here
or
that they
stand
want
in
to?
for one of those two, I'm available.
Okay, that answers my question. Now there's three.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Bruce.
if someone else, if Mr. Phillips is willing to step in, you really can learn a lot, about what goes on with the cities, a lot of history, and I'm willing to back out. I've been through this, for many years. So if he's willing to step up, and he can actually learn a lot about why things happen and don't happen, within the county and the city.
Sounds good. Anyone else?
So Zach, if you want to take it on, I highly recommend you do.
I appreciate it, Bruce, and yeah, I'll step in and take it. Yeah, thank you for stepping down.
Can I just, Chair, can I interject here a little bit about the goal?
Yes, go ahead. Pauline.
Yeah, the goal really is to advocate. This is something that the county has put on their priority and then backed off on their priority. So I think this is a good effort on commissioners from the city and from the county's plan commission to really advocate moving forward and to look at the JPA, the joint planning area is the original area agreed upon, and certainly what degree of going south, it doesn't go very far south, and what degree of going south really needs to be discussed, and other opportunities, and a lot have changed. So both council member representatives need to be good advocates in pursuing that. So if that helps you, kind of, Zach, of kind of visualizing your role here, and I think Tony clearly understood that, but you might not know that. And Tony, do you have any more to add on this kind of goal here of this role and reason why we're calling these two kind of commissioners from each the county and the city to kind of advocate it and to push the commissioners along in viewing this as a priority?
Thanks, Mr. Osborne. Yes, we've worked for a long time as a realtor association to get the city and the county to, march to the same drummer. And I think we've built some relationships, and I think we're set now with the people in place to build those relationships and take it forward and start talking about, how everyone wins when we work together and we plan it out smartly, instead of, being on our own program. So that's the goal, and that's the intent. And I think it's a great thing.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. So it's Zach and Tony at this time. Christy, you're the only one here that I don't want to make you feel slighted.
No, I appreciate it. I just took on another commitment of planning for another board for 1 year. So I just need to not overcommit myself, but thank you for asking.
Thank you.
I'm happy to jump in if somebody needs, if you just need an extra hand or somebody else, just for our meeting time to time. So let me know, Tony, if there's that opportunity.
Amy, I left you out deliberately because I just learned that your 3-year stint is up and you don't care to seek reappointment. I just want to let you know how much we've appreciated your diligence during this last 3 years, and wish you well, and thank you from myself and I'm sure from all of the commissioners. Thanks, Amy. That's
I
because
have
I
one
didn't
more
turn my
comment.
mic on. Sorry. The Planning Commission meeting scheduled for April 27th. There being no other items on the agenda this evening, the meeting's adjourned. Oh, Bruce, you have one comment?
Yes, I did. Mr. Brewer, it's been a while since they've had a legal update, and we do have quite a few members of the Planning Commission. Can you hear me? Okay. We do have quite a few people that were not in attendance at those meetings in the past. I think Greg and I have been to 2 or 3 over the last number of years. But if they could schedule some kind of even online or maybe in the near future, face-to-face with the attorneys that have and schedule these meetings, it would probably answer a lot of questions that are being brought up in commissioner hearings because people just don't know.
That's a good point, Bruce. Maybe, David, you could check on,
Yes, good point, Bruce. We can work on that and develop, even maybe have a legal briefing here with some attorneys to help further the conversation. One more point on the joint planning area group. I'll set up a meeting between the two agencies and try and develop more conversation from there. So that there's no real rush to get started, but they've picked 3 people on their group at the county, so I'll coordinate that and get that started. Blaine has a question.
Chair, can I add a comment?
of course.
All right, thank you. Kind of add what Commissioner Freeman was talking about. There is there is a course, a Planning 101, that every commissioner should take. It's just a one-time one, and it's now online, so we can make sure the Development Services Director can make sure that when that comes out, that we forward that to you. And it talks about open records, some real general things on planning and such. And so 1 or 2 times, some people might want a refresher course to kind of digest things on it. So it gives you the GMA and UGA and some of those kind of acronyms, JPA, in a pretty basic format. And certainly we can look at what supplemental we've done in the past too. And I wasn't aware of that in the 3 years that I've been here, but certainly, there's a lot of new people on here that came on after I've been here. So certainly training is a good thing, and it helps you through the process.
Thank you, Blaine. I'm having a little trouble here keeping my mic going here. Is there, David, do you have any other comments? Okay, if no other comments, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned.